I'm Pierre from the Wine Society, Director of Wine, and joined today by our events manager, Catherine. And we are here to taste through and walk through the classic mixed tasting kits, which are the Wine Society's way to help our members find their next favourite wine, whether you like to explore the world of wine or you simply just enjoy the pleasure that wine brings, and you're doing this alongside friends and family. This is a great way at home to find something new. Or you might be really serious about wine and you're looking to really fine tune and master your ability to identify flavours and taste wine.
For Wine 1, we're in the Loire with the Reine Blanche from Domaine Vacheron. It's a Sancerre, so it's 100% Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc is one of those great varieties that, depending on where it's from, it can take on lots of different fruit characters and complexities. And in the Loire, you're very much getting the purity of the green fruit. So there's some really lovely crisp apple notes here. There's some nice lime leaf, a little bit of sharp citrus, but it also has a lovely chalky minerality to it. Minerality being one of those fun wine words where it can take on a few different meanings, but here it's a little bit more about the texture of the wine, the mouthfeel that you're getting. And it does have a little bit of salinity to it as well.
And it's what I'd call quite a subtle wine. So actually, in terms of, it's not a wine that jumps out at the glass. And if you're used to Sauvignon Blanc from, say, New Zealand, which is a very loud, it's like the volume's turned up.
Yeah.
Sancerre is a much more restrained expression of Sauvignon Blanc, about sort of delicacy and subtlety. And it's a dry wine, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's dry, it's got precision to it as well. The fruit is intense though. It's very much on that sort of green apple peel. Domaine Vacheron, interesting, they work organically and biodynamically. They have one of the largest vineyard areas. They've got 40 hectares, but they hand harvest everything, which means there's that reliability of the grapes having the really high quality and precision to go into these wines. And I think that does really come across in the purity of the fruit, the expression of the style of wine that you're getting. It's very refreshing, very crisp, but it's also got a slight Moorish quality to it as well, which comes from that texture.
And it's definitely designed for food. And one of the more unusual food matches, actually Sancerre is fantastic with cheese, particularly with goat's cheese.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't normally, I think, instinctively think to pick a white wine to have with cheese, but this and that match, that saltiness of the cheese, offsets what is a wine that is driven by quite crisp, mouth-watering acidity.
Absolutely.
And I think you used the word purity. I totally agree. It's got real purity, this wine. So wine 2 is Soave la Rocca from Pieropan. We're of course in Italy. And Soave, can we be serious about Soave? Soave is a name that is associated and had been associated with sort of high volume, fairly neutral tasting wine. But there's one producer, Pieropan, who have always taken it incredibly seriously. This is their top wine in their portfolio, called La Rocca. It comes from a single vineyard with the same name, and it's produced from the classic local grape variety of the area, which is called Garganega. And this is a really serious expression of Soave. The first thing that you'll notice is just the colour. And in fact, compared to the previous wine, this has much more intensity of colour. It's sort of verging on kind of lemon gold in colour. In terms of its flavour profile, I think this is a more difficult wine to describe the flavour profile of, but I'm getting kind of herbal characters, citrus characters too. Where you're seeing the real quality of their fruit is on the palate. If you sort of swish it around your palate, this has got incredible breadth and texture, quite weighty, not heavy, just really concentrated, quite a complex wine that surprisingly, you wouldn't normally age Soave, but such is the gravitas of this wine that actually it will age for many years. That's again another wine that I think is showing really well, and actually beautifully contrasts with the previous wine. And so what you might find when you're tasting this is that you'll favour one style over the other, and that's absolutely fine because these wines are playing very different roles.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of the fun of being able to taste them side by side.
Absolutely. And I think they're both dry wines, but this one in comparison to the Sancerre really does have a little perception of sweetness to it. But that's from the ripeness of the fruit.
Yes.
You've got the herbal notes, but you're also getting some slight fleshy quince or slightly stone fruit to it as well. So like I say, it's really complex. It's got a hell of a lot going on. It's just a really pleasurable glass. For wine 3, we're skipping back to France. We've got the Domaine William Fèvre Premier Cru Chablis. It's 100% Chardonnay, so similar to the Sancerre at the start. It's a grape variety that can take on the characteristics of where it is grown. Chardonnay is a very amenable grape variety, and when you are in Burgundy, it really has those lovely yellow fruits. It's a little bit of stone fruit. So the concentration of fruit that you've got here, you've got some yellow apple, maybe a little bit of stone fruit, some nectarine, but also some really lovely tangy lemon curd creaminess as well.
We are in the northern part of Burgundy. It's cool climate, not far from Champagne, and actually it's a style of Chardonnay that I've certainly got friends who've said to me, I don't like Chardonnay, and then you present them with a Chablis, and it really shows that sort of variety that Chardonnay can produce. And actually from a tasting perspective, I would say this is one of the hardest wines to really get into because it's subtle, it's quite restrained, the flavours aren't obvious, but it has amazing precision and amazing purity. And actually, if you taste it at first, you might think, oh, this is quite a light, dilute wine. I would say subtle, but just concentrate on that flavour, that slightly mineral flavour. It does go on and on and on, and just shows a word I'd use called finesse, I think, to describe a wine like this.
And I think where we've said with some reds, you can chill them slightly to get the best out of them. With this Chablis, you could let it warm up slightly, let it come to temperature, or have it in a slightly larger glass, so those fruit flavours will really come through and the coolness isn't dulling it down.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Here we are in Rioja with wine number 4 and a legendary name, Viña Real, who are part of the Cuyo group, who also produce Contino. Viña Real Gran Reserva is a stunning example of this style of Rioja. The fruit here is mostly Tempranillo, and it comes from a part of Rioja called the Alavesa, which is in the northern part of the region, produces the kind of freshest style of Tempranillo, and therefore has a real fantastic ability to age and to support the bottle aging and barrel aging that Gran Reserva demands. So this wine has spent 5 years between oak and bottle before being released. This is the 2016 vintage, so we're nearly 10 years old. It's got a nice deep colour. If you sort of tilt the glass, you can see on the rim that it's just starting to turn to a sort of brick red colour, which is an indication of its age. Perfume-wise, I mean, there's so much going on, isn't there? It's slightly leathery, slightly smoky.
For a nearly 10-year-old wine, that structure is incredible though. I mean, the tannins, they're there. You can definitely feel the grip on your gums, but they're soft, they're velvety. It's just holding everything together in a really lovely, long wine.
And it's got really nice fleshy texture, hasn't it, to support the tannins. And just a little tip that I like to mention on these videos is my tip around how you can look like a professional taster, which is just remember the abbreviation BLIC, balance, length, intensity, complexity. If you apply those phrases to any wine that you try and describe them as it's a well-balanced wine with good length, intense flavours, and complexity that sort of goes from savouriness to fruitiness. You sound like a real pro.
In wine 5, we are heading to Argentina, and we've got the Mendel Unus, which is majority Malbec, which is classic variety for Argentina. So it's 65% Malbec, 25% Cabernet Sauvignon, and a little bit of Petit Verdot, 10%. So you're getting a bit more structure from the Petit Verdot, some of that lovely cedary nuance from the Cabernet Sauvignon, but obviously the Malbec is bringing all of that lovely plush, plummy fruit. It's really ripe, really rich, perfect with big, meaty dishes. I mean, it's such an iconic variety for Argentina. Mendel are one of the older producers, and they do tend to make their wines in a slightly more European style. So there is a little bit more firmness and structure to them in comparison to some of the much brighter and fleshier Malbecs you may come across. But again, that means that this wine is prime for aging. It also means, in terms of approachability, it is the sort of thing that you might want to pop into a decanter just before serving if you were going to it now. Give it a few years as well, and it will really soften out those tannins. The intensity of the fruit is really there. It's a great wine for keeping, and it's a great wine for drinking now.
Yeah, I mean, and it's definitely one you would describe as full-bodied. It's got a lot of weight. A lot of colour, and it's got that lovely sort of violety, kind of ripe red fruit character that I associate with Malbec. And these vineyards actually are really old vineyards, grown at I think just over 1,000 metres. So they're probably some of the highest vineyards in the world, and that is partly why you get this incredible colour because of the UV light. And this concentration, but that altitude means that the nights are really cold, so it retains acidity in the wine. But this is a real kind of concentrated, quite flamboyant, but as you said, quite European and controlled. Showing lovely, actually, isn't it?
It's really delicious, and yeah, you've got that lovely concentration, but you want to keep that freshness as well, so it doesn't become cloying and overpowering and overzealous. It's enough restraint to show off all of its great qualities.
Wine 6, California, Sonoma County. We are tasting a wine from a vineyard called Lytton Springs, which is part of the Ridge Vineyards portfolio. Ridge make fantastic wines. They make a range of Zinfandel-based wines, but also some Cabernet-based wines from another site. Lytton is in the former, and this is what is called a field blend. So it's mostly Zinfandel, but Lytton Springs is an incredibly old vineyard that was planted to multiple grape varieties. As I said, mostly Zinfandel, but also some Petit Syrah, Mataro or Mourvèdre, and Carignan. This is a wine that is sensuous. It's got incredible depth, incredible concentration. Zinfandel made in this dry style. Most Zinfandel we see in the UK is the rosé style, which I'm proud to say the Wine Society doesn't sell because it doesn't really taste much of wine. But truly great dry red Zinfandel can make some extraordinarily brilliant wines. This is a wine that has, I mean, it's got a lot going on. It's still quite young. We haven't actually released this vintage yet. So you're getting the first preview of this wine before anyone else by buying these taster kits. This has got power, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
It's got lots of body and lovely structure, and that sort of kind of exotic, slightly sort of vanilla flavour because they only use American oak.
Again, we're getting a little perception of sweetness, but just from the ripeness of the fruit. I do find as well with Zinfandel, it can take on that additional sort of glycerol feel, that kind of smooth coating. But because of the complexity of this and the intensity and the structure, it's not cloying, it's not overpowering. But it is very mouth-filling. It's
Yeah.
very luscious, very rich. It's very tasty.
It's very tasty. You will, if you are loving this today, I'm afraid we are going to ask you to be a bit patient because this is a wine that is in great demand amongst members, and we only get a certain allocation. So what we do is we hold back vintages so that we can put a mixed case together and sell it to more members. So the holding back means you probably won't see this wine available until about 2027. If you can't wait till then, there's a wine on our website, same producer ridge, called Pagani Ranch, which gives you a really, it's a really good alternative to this wine.
So a real treat to get it in the kit.
So I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did. It was incredible to go through those wines, some really contrasting flavours and styles. The majority of the wines are available to buy in bottle on our website. We have got other tasting kits online if you did want to explore further.